Hello you beautiful creatures, how the devil are you? I hope you're well. If you're new here, my name is Lou, or Lucifer as my friends like to call me. By my friends I mean my Instagram account. I'm excited for this video. I'm going to be talking about drag in this one. Yes, if you've been here regularly you'll know that I really enjoy watching drag shows, drag artists, TV shows about it, so on and so forth. However, I'm here to talk about a very specific one. So last year, gosh, was it last year or 2 years ago? I'm not too sure. During the pandemic, the plague, shall we say. So I had a lot of time to kill and I discovered a certain drag show called the Boulet Brothers Dragula show. Safe to say I'm pretty addicted to it now. So much so that I'm actually going to see the UK tour Dragula show tomorrow in Sheffield, or today whenever you're watching this. Yeah, I'm going to see the show, so I am very excited. My favourite drag performer, Darlie, is going to be there. So in celebration of that, also because a lot of people I've spoken to, they also like drag as well, but they're not familiar with the concept of the Boulet Brothers Dragula show. So I'm going to use this video to do my top 10 reasons why you should watch the Boulet Dragula show, if that's okay with you guys. If this isn't your cup of tea, I know that I usually do unboxings, horror movie reviews, so on and so forth, paranormal stuff as well, all the kind of spooky stuff. If this one isn't for you, that's absolutely fine, but if it is, stay tuned and I can't wait to get into this top 10. Disclaimer before we get started, I just wanted to say that just because I'm concentrating massively on the Boulet Brothers in this video doesn't mean that I'm downplaying any other drag show, specifically RuPaul's Drag Race. I know a lot of people who love RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm just trying to show you an alternative. Specifically if you're a horror fan, if you're into different types of drag as well. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later in the video. I don't want people to think this video is basically attacking RuPaul, because that's not what I want it to. I think drag is wonderful. I think it should be celebrated in all forms, in all ways, and whatever way you decide to celebrate drag, that's completely up to you. I'm not trying to force you to watch one or the other, okay? I'm just trying to show you what I enjoy and, you know, maybe show you another show that you can watch whilst you're waiting for another season for another show. I hope that's okay and I hope that makes sense. Also, before we get into these points, I just want to talk a little bit about what the Boulet Brothers Dragula show is. So if you've seen RuPaul's Drag Race, it's basically a horror, filthy, gory, glamorous version of that. It's insane, it's amazing. When I first watched it, I watched the first season, going from season 1 to season 4, seeing how big it's grown has been phenomenal. It's in its baby stages at the moment and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it's really important now to get into it now so you can kind of get on board with it and just watch it as it progresses. To see the Boulet Brothers go from such a little setup to how massive it is now, it really is amazing. I remember seeing the first season and I'm pretty sure it was in the pandemic. They couldn't have people watching, and the contestants, they actually had to go home to make their looks for the runway, and it was really weird, very strange to watch. But yeah, their finale, it was in a theatre space, which was really cool, very eerie. And to see what it looks like now, like they've got their own studio, their own space, it really is a treat to watch. At the moment, I believe it's being streamed on Shudder. So what Shudder is, that's a horror movie, horror-based subscription, like Netflix basically. It's like the horror version of Netflix. I believe I'm paying $5.99 for it a month. However, you can get a 30-day trial. Shudder, if you're watching this, hit me up, because I think I'm doing a pretty decent job of advertising for you. But yes, you can try out Shudder for 30 days. The season 4 is on there at the moment, so you can binge watch that. That's exactly what I did and I do not regret it at all. Do I have a problem? Yes, but I'm not upset with that. So we're going to start with number 10, the guests. Yes, I absolutely adore the guests. Being a horror fanatic myself and suddenly seeing all these different celebrities from different walks of the horror genre is absolutely fantastic. In one season, in one episode, you can see Bonnie Aarons, the nun. She's in it, she's fantastic, she's so feisty. So you basically go from Bonnie Aarons to Ray Santiago as well. He is Pablo from Ash vs Evil Dead. If you don't know who he is, he's really fun in it too. They've got loads of people involved. They've got the editor from Fangoria. They've actually got the lead singer of Poppy, the heavy metal band. She's adorable. She is very, very adorable. And then obviously we have my favourite, who is Harvey Gillen, and he is Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. He's from the TV series. He's one of my favourite characters next to Nando. But seeing all these people kind of coming together to celebrate drag, and just their outfits as well are absolutely killer. They're so funny. The way they interact with the Boulet Brothers is absolutely wonderful, and you can see they really appreciate what they're seeing. Their critiques as well are fantastic, because a lot of these people, they're heavily involved in the horror genre, and they obviously know what the theme of the episode is. They can kind of work with that and kind of give the right critique also as well. So a lot of these guests will see the collaborative competition, so the group competitions as well. So they'll be looking at each individual queen, and they'll be saying basically whether you stuck out or you didn't, and I think that's really interesting. But yes, I absolutely rate the guests for this one, and it's interesting because you kind of see from season 1 they couldn't really get the guests that they, I don't know, ideally wanted, or ones that were quite out of reach for them. But now, seeing how much they've progressed in the business, you can see that they're getting those connections now, and I cannot wait for season 5. I'm really excited for season 5 and seeing what kind of guests they bring to the table. But you just... My recommendation, because sometimes people put spoilers up online, don't look at the spoilers and you'll be pleasantly surprised. So number 9 is The Message. So their manifesto is, we are not here to judge your drag. Drag is art and art is subjective. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. I did contemporary theatre as a degree. Yeah, I've seen far more genitalia than I thought I would. And because of that, I had certain lecturers who like certain styles. Now, because of that, they would actually downgrade us if they didn't really like the style or the artist we kind of went with, or the influence we went with, and it really sucked, to be honest, to be able to watch a TV show that, you know, they base it on the artistic style of the performer. They base it upon the artistic direction, where they want to take their drag, their character, their persona. I really, really enjoy that. And because of how varied the artists are on this show, I really don't want to say anything bad about RuPaul's Drag Race. However, I feel like the drag styles are incredibly similar, and I'm really, really sorry to say that. They base it a lot more on technique of the drag, so of the tucking, of the curves of the drag, of the silhouette of the drag, the more feminine idea of it. I'm trying really hard not to get all of my terminology mixed up, my genders, my sexuality, so if I do, I'm very sorry about that. However, I think RuPaul's Drag Race is a lot more feminized, whereas Dragula, it opens for more liminal spaces between gender, so there's a lot more kind of masculine drag, playing about with those stereotypes, playing about with where one starts and where one ends. So it's kind of impossible for the judges to actually judge how feminine the drag is, so it's more about the artistic style of the drag, the theme of the drag instead. I really hope that makes sense, but I think that's so refreshing because it allows the drag artist to be artists essentially. What I really love about Dragula is it's like seeing a canvas every single week, and that canvas being washed down and then painted up again and done in a completely different way. You can still see the similar style of the artist, you can see the different touches they put into it, but they obviously take a theme away and then they add their style on top of it. I hope that makes sense, but I really love the message, because I think it's a lot more open, and I think it's quite inviting for drag artists from all different types of backgrounds. So with this season you have a drag artist who, I'll get into it further on, but you have a drag artist, she's a feminine drag artist, she's a lady, and she over exaggerates the female form. You have a drag artist called Darlie is my favorite. I can't wait to meet them tomorrow, but they deal with the more masculine side of drag and then kind of interweaving feminine ideology with that. I'll get into it later, but I hope that makes sense for you guys. It's exciting, it's very exciting, and it's a lot to think about afterwards and kind of pick apart, and that's what I really enjoy with Dragula. Number 8, the trials. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Particularly the Brits. So we have something called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I'm not sure if that's over in America or over in different parts of the world. However, seeing people absolutely squirming because they're surrounded by creepy crawlies, or they're put in not so favourable situations where they're like really high up, or they're having to deal with their worst fear, that gives you a kind of buzz. Is that mean? Yeah. No, I don't think it is. But basically what happens in Dragula, so you have 2 artists at the end, and if they're battling it out to basically not be eliminated, they do a trial, whether that's a shower of cockroaches or they've got leeches all over their arms. I've seen them eating brains as well. Yeah, I know. When I watched the first episode, I was just like, what's going on here? And I'm obsessed. I absolutely love it, because you also get to see that kind of, that desperation from the Queen as well, that desperation to keep going through the competition and how much the competition means to them. I feel like it's it's a lot more heartfelt. Obviously I know that there are some bits that are scripted, they have to be for like the artistic side of it, and then, and this is my favourite bit, so the Queen, who doesn't do very well in the trial, you can actually see how the Boulet Brothers kill them, which is always exciting. It's always in a different way, it's always relating to the theme of the episode as well, so the theme that the drag queens have to work with, and I'm living for it. I can't wait to see what trials they have to do in the next season. One of my favorite ones, this was more of a tame one. They it was basically like a zombie clown version of Mario Kart. There was a clown episode where obviously they all had to do looks based on killer clowns, and they were all driving around on this track, and all the other queens that had been eliminated, they came back as zombies, which was really cool, and they basically made a horde that these other contestants had to drive away from, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun. If you don't watch it for anything else, the trials and the elimination is absolutely fantastic. Number 7, I'm going to have to say the music. Oh my gosh, the music, it's so nice to hear such a variety. Again, I really don't want to say anything bad about RuPaul's Drag Race. However, the variation of music you hear from episode to episode. So there is one episode where they have to do a rock band, so they do heavy metal music, and it's so cool to hear. You also get the campy horror kind of music, the more heavier kind of stuff. The Boulet Brothers have actually brought out a new single called Wicked Love, and it is gorgeous. It's a bop, it's an absolute bop, but it's incredibly haunting as well. The lyrics are gorgeous, they're so beautiful. They actually used that song for a lip sync battle, and it was Sea Creatures, and it was very reminiscent of Ghost Ship, and I adored it so much. You can actually find Wicked Love, it's on iTunes, Spotify, and basically any other kind of music streaming site you can find. I fully recommend it. I listen to it every single day, and I really hope they do a performance based around it tomorrow, because it's so good. Okay, so number 6, and we've kind of touched on this one before, the Queens. Oh my gosh, I really do adore everything about the Queens. There's not one that's the same, and also they really delve into different sides of drag. So again, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, however, I'm going to use the 4 examples. So these are the 4 contestants, these are the finalists. So you've got the winner, who is Dali, you've got Sigourney Beaver, you've got Saint, and you've got Hoso, okay? Now these 4 contestants, they are very different types of drag artists. So what I'm going to do for this bit, I'm going to basically talk a little bit about each drag artist to show how different they all are. To start off with, we're going to talk about Hoso. Now Hoso is an absolute sweetheart. Also, I am going to use the terms they and them, just because I want to make sure I'm safe with my pronouns. I don't want to offend anybody, so I don't want to offend anybody, so if that's okay, I'm going to use they and them. So Hoso is an absolute sweetheart. I believe they were the youngest contestant of season 4, and they are incredibly proud of their South Korean heritage. They're incredibly brave as well. So a lot of their drag is based around the traditional idea of South Korea. They really like the artistic side, like the art from South Korea, the demonology side of it. One of the drags they did was actually based on a kind of demon idea art from South Korea, and it was fantastic. It really, really worked. It was a quite masculine side of drag, but they interwove it with more feminine connotations, which I really enjoyed. And they're incredibly creative as well, especially with their face paint. Like, everything they do, I can't explain it. They actually did The Other Mother from Coraline, and again they interwove that South Korean inspiration with The Other Mother, and it really, really works. Like, their silhouette work is fantastic as well. It was different every single week, so you didn't really get bored of it, and every time you saw the silhouette before the lights came on, you were like, oh my god, what is this going to be this time? Also, their finale was incredibly touching. So the finale, I'll get into it later, but they basically do glamour, horror and filth, and their filth was the stereotypical Korean, and it was incredibly heart-wrenching to see the kind of stereotyping that's been put on them, the racism as well, and basically how they presented that to the audience. And it's like, this is how some of you think of us. It's not so nice, is it? And yeah, it was very, very difficult to watch, but I think Hoso was fantastic. They are definitely a strong performer, a strong queen, and they are incredibly creative, so they're definitely one to watch. Next, we're going to talk about Saint. Now Saint, if I could describe them, I would say a sexy, chic, black goth femme fatale. They are an incredible icon for the black drag community. They were an incredibly strong performer throughout Dragula. I believe they were a returning queen. They were in a previous season, and they just absolutely rocked it. Like, their attitude, their determination, their up for elimination challenges, they were phenomenal. And again, the silhouetting, the work they do with leather particularly, they are very sleek, very curvaceous, very very sexy. I really liked their work. So they had to do demons, I believe, and they did a personification of a demon saint angel, like a voodoo saint, and they just looked absolutely beautiful. So I am going to put a few pictures up on the side to show you what they kind of look like. So as you can see here, very clear, very crystal clear, very voodoo-esque, and I thought it was phenomenal because they kind of turned the theme on its head, and it really stuck out from the other queens. But Saint, I really love Saint's work. Very sleek, very cyber goth as well, like the love child of sleek cyber Victorian goth, which I really enjoy. Next we have I love her name, so I can definitely say her for this one, just because I know that's kind of where she wants to go with her connotations. Sigourney Beaver. If I could describe Sigourney Beaver, it would be the curvaceous, busty, basically mashup of camp horror. She's got it down to a T. Now, Sigourney Beaver is an interesting one because, again, she's a lady and she does drag. So I never really heard of that before, but she over accentuates everything, just the sexiness of being a woman, over exaggerating the curves, everything about being a female and celebrating being a female. She's got camp down to a T. She really has. So all of the like schlock, the horror, the old horror, like all that campy kind of stuff, she really pulls it off. She did this fantastic look, and it was for the Rock episode. She did the love child of Kiss and Marie Antoinette together, and I'll put a picture here, but she looked absolutely fantastic. Again, her silhouette work, particularly with her hair, looks absolutely gorgeous. Again, every time I saw her silhouette, I was like, what is she going to do this time? I can also say that her sea creature lip syncing battle, that was really, really good. But again, completely different from the other contestants, and again, really, really knocking home that female freedom of being sexy, exciting, worshipping the female form. Yeah, I was absolutely here for it. And finally, we're going to talk about Darlie, the winner of season 4. Yes, be still my beating heart. Darlie is such a sweetheart from what I've seen. Again, I could describe them as a sexy Cenobite, cowboy, mustached, mystery person. Yeah, they're, oh my gosh, they're phenomenal. The work they put into their drag as well, everything is homemade. Every single look they did was completely different, completely fresh, and I'm not a fan of clowns. I'm really not a fan of clowns. However, what they did with the clown look was really, really good. So as you'll notice, Darlie deals with more of the masculine side of drag whilst interweaving the feminine side of it. So for example, so they'll have quite a masculine outfit on. They'll adore that with feminine accessories, e.g. a corset, accessories up at the top, a lot of bracelets, a lot of jewellery, the makeup as well. So their iconic look is the moustache, lipstick and feminine makeup, and it reminds me of, now who was it? There's a drag queen and they have a beard. I can't remember who it is, but they're very well known, and it very much reminded me of that. And I really enjoyed the interweaving of two different gender ideals, and you don't know where one starts and one ends, and I do really enjoy that, because it begs the question, like, where does one start and one end? Like, why can't I look this way if I'm a certain gender, and why can't I look this way if I'm another type of gender? Do you know what I mean? It's seeing two genders brought together so beautifully, and it just works. It really, really works. I feel like they've had a lot of controversy based around their drag, because obviously, again, the main idea for drag, I imagine, is it's a lot more leaning towards the feminine ideals, looking more feminine, whereas Darlie, they work with both genders, both gender ideals. So I feel like it's a grey area for some people, but if I could describe it as anything, I would say it's absolutely beautiful. They've worked really hard to get where they have. I believe they had a few issues in previous seasons. I believe it was season 2. I can't quite remember, but they were eliminated, unfortunately, and they've come back bigger and better than ever. You can see the mental work, the work with mental health that they've done to better themselves, and it's really, really paid off, and I cannot wait to see Darlie tomorrow. They're just chef's kiss. So number 5, and this is going to be a bit of an interesting one, Judgement. So a particular episode and a particular queen, they left their workstation in a bit of a mess. the crew as well, they would ask the crew to help them with their look. Now, the Boulet Brothers did talk about that extensively in one of their panels, in one of their Judgement panels. So they don't just look at what you're like when you're doing the catwalk, when you're presenting your look, and when you're doing the lip syncing or the challenge. They actually look at what you're like as a worker, what you're like behind stage, how you treat your co-workers and how you treat your crewmates. As a performer, I think that's incredibly important. At the end of the day, nobody is worth less than you. And just because you might be the artist and some other person is doing the lighting doesn't mean that they're any less than you. And I think that's a really important message. They look at all these contestants and they think, right, okay, who would be the perfect fit for the Boulet family, and who would be a perfect fit, and who would be the perfect fit of who's respectful to the rest of our crew. And I think that's important in any workplace in general. That's what I really like about the Judgement. They look at you as a person and not just a performer. Number 4, and you know this is a big one for me, mental health. A lot of the queens in Dragula have been through hell. They've really been through a lot, and I think what I liked was the Boulet Brothers genuinely care for their queens. They genuinely care for their monsters and want to make sure they're okay, and want to make sure they're in the best possible place they can be to fight in the competition. You could see regularly when it came to the Judgement panels, they would actually check in on their queens. They'd ask if there were any issues. They would speak to them about it and make sure they were okay and make sure they could continue before they continued. So I really did like that, and I liked how open a lot of the queens were about what kind of experiences they'd had. I know a lot of people, specifically, I know a lot of people struggle in life. Whoever you are, whether you're gay, straight, bi, pan, any kind of sexuality, any kind of gender, yeah, life can really, really suck. And, you know, nobody knows what another person's going through. They could be absolutely going through hell and you would have no idea about it. So to be able to see all these people kind of coming together and talking so openly about their mental health, I think it's really important. And I think it's important as well because they're men, you know, very masculine. Seeing men openly speaking out about how they feel, I think that's a very important message, especially for younger boys, because we all know that people are told to suck it up and get on with it and stop crying, whereas girls, most of the time, they're kind of told, oh yes, your feelings are valid, you know, you can open up about your feelings. And that's wrong. That is absolutely wrong. It doesn't matter what gender you are. You should feel free to talk about what you want to talk about. You know, like, just because of the way you look and just because of your gender, it doesn't matter. If you're having a bad time, you open up about it. And if people are telling you to clam up about it, then those aren't the kind of people that you should have in your life, whether they are friends, whether they are your family. You know, it is hard, and you can see from these queens, like, again, because of the gender they were born into, they were told to kind of suck it up. They were told that they had to be in certain gender norms and stereotypes because of what they were born as, and it's really damaged a lot of them. And doing stuff like this, coming together for stuff like this, is really important to them, and I think it just makes them a lot more relatable, which, yeah, it's really nice to see. And moving on to number 3, the themes. Yes, I love the themes this season. I really, really did. Okay, so the different themes they had, I won't give them all away because you might go away and decide to watch it. So a few of the themes I really, really enjoyed. There was a vampire beach party that was delightful to watch. Hairy creatures, yes. Seeing what they did with that kind of idea was very, very interesting. That's what I really loved about the different queens. They all took away the simple theme and they made it their own, and I really, really liked that. They also had a rock theme as well, which, chef's kiss. Again, I'm a massive rock fan myself, and obviously them doing that and then having Poppy there to judge them, that was amazing. But it's fantastic to see all these people come together with one theme and take it all away and all do something completely different. Again, they had a demon theme, and seeing what they did with that. Also, because a lot of them are from different parts of the world, to be able to see what cultural kind of ideas they came up with as well. So Hoso, specifically for the demon theme, I believe it's a yokai. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's a yokai. Seeing the demonology side of it for them, as opposed to someone like Dali, I believe they did a more Cenobite-esque demon. Sigourney Beaver, I think she did something based off Lilith. Yes she did. That was gory. But then you had Saint, who did the voodoo priestess, saint, goddess demon, and that was really interesting, seeing how ethereal they looked, but the darker connotations inside of it as well. I really loved that. Also seeing the Boulet Brothers, the looks they would come out with as well, particularly the hair one. I really enjoyed the hair one. However, I don't know how they didn't break their necks. I really don't. They must have very strong neck muscles. But yeah, all of the themes are an absolute delight. Again, like RuPaul's Drag Race, they have a theme every different episode. However, I think because it's the horror genre, you kind of see how many genres there are. So there was like a Western theme, there was a space theme. I think they put those together. Yeah, they put the Western and the space theme together. Like, seeing what people came up with for that was really fun. The first episode, Horror Icon, so basically taking a monster and making a more glamorized look of it. They did a xenomorph queen, but it was like the xenomorph queen was doing a Vogue shoot. It was peak. It really was peak. The themes are absolutely fantastic, especially if you're a horror fan. Number 2, the collaborative and the team eliminations and challenges. Wow, it's a lot. So my favorite one has to be the horror movie scene they all did together, and it was a campy version of The Exorcist, and I couldn't love it anymore. And the actual winner of that challenge, they got to have a bit part in an upcoming horror movie. How cool is that? That's amazing. But just seeing all these drag queens coming together, trying to do a serious campy horror scene, was really fun. The Rock episode as well, so they split off into 2 teams and they had to do 2 lip sync battles, but they had to do it as rock band. And again, Dali absolutely killed it as the lead singer. Like, they knew all of the rock stereotypes, all of the rock moves, all of the screamo kind of poses and stuff like that. That was so much fun. I used to love the RuPaul's episode where they would do the snatch game. I really did. However, I've heard in recent years that it's not been as good as it used to be. Yeah, so it's basically something like that, but it's just so fun to see all these queens come together and their different kind of ideals, their different kind of themes, just all working together on stage. They also did a vampire beach party, so it's almost like a vampire music video. So in the beginning it was incredibly campy, they were all coming together. Dali was dressed up as a Camp Nosferatu, who was just a delight to watch, and then it kind of turned dark and there was just blood everywhere and they were all drinking blood and biting each other's necks, and it was so much fun. Yeah, you can tell I really enjoy this. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I would definitely have to say the team and the collaborative challenges, they are definitely worth the watch. And finally, number 1, the season finale. Yes, you've heard me talk about this before. So how they rate the season finale, you have 3 categories. You've got glamour, horror and filth, and let me tell you, sometimes it can get pretty filthy. Vander Von Ard from season 1, they were filthy. They were damn filthy. When I first watched it, I was like, oh yeah, it can't be that bad. It was that bad. It was really intense. It can basically be anything you want, and it can involve anything you want, including bodily fluids and intense stuff, but I'm not going to go any further than that. It's more interesting than it is horrifying. So with this season, it was more the themes. So take, for example, Hoso, for their filth, they did a stereotypical South Korean. So unfortunately, what a lot of racists would perceive as a South Korean. And it was, honestly, it was heartbreaking to watch. It was heartbreaking to see how hurtful these stereotypes can be for a person. It was disgusting to watch. You know, they were exhibiting a lot of behaviors that I imagine a racist person would say that a South Korean does, and it nearly made me sick. It was horrible. Dali, I'm only saying the ones that really stuck out to me theme wise. Dali, wow, they presented as a clown, and they were enjoying the South, that's all I'll say. And then they hung themselves, and you realised you were watching it all. You were watching everything, and you're like, oh my god, I'm the bad person for watching this. It was very it was a lot to do with voyeurism and watching things that you shouldn't necessarily watch, and kind of watching things that are horrible but not really doing anything about it and not really intervening, which was really interesting because that's what we used to talk about in university. There was some horrible things that I saw, unfortunately, and it was the idea of, because you're in an audience setting, would you stand up and stop what you were seeing on stage? So that's definitely a big one to think about. But then you move on to the horror, which is the more exciting, the more campy side of it. And again, they were very interesting. I really enjoyed Sigourney Beaver's rendition of the horror theme. So she did a very Frankenstein, mad scientist based thing. And she drank a load of potions, and they basically changed her, and it was really good fun to watch. You did feel like you were watching a Hammer horror movie, whereas someone like Dali, they dressed up as a priest, a pope, so a zombie pope, and it was because they'd basically been kind of forced into a religious background, and that was their idea of what horror was. So that was really cool to watch. And then the glamour was just absolutely beautiful. We had ball gowns, we had sequins, we had very form-fitting clothes which were wonderful. The silhouette work was gorgeous, and the melding together of the masculine and the feminine from all of them was just absolutely beautiful. So the finale, you can also see where they came from, where they started, how much they've learned, how much they've taken on board from the brothers, and it's lovely to see them kind of flourishing into this amazing horror drag artist. And the fact that we get to see them, like I get to see them tomorrow, I get to meet them, I got the VIP experience, that's big. So all in all, I really hope I've sold it to you. I adore the Boulet Brothers drag show. It's been a fantastic season, it really has. So again, to see where it started and to see where it is now, it's absolutely wonderful. Again, if you do want to see season 4, you can check it out on Shudder. You can do a 30-day trial at the moment. Shudder, again, if you're watching this, please, I love you, girl. Just I will advertise for you all the time, I promise. But yeah, I'm really excited to go tomorrow. I'm going on my own, so this is going to be very interesting. I haven't been out on my own really since the incident last year, the last time I went out, so I'm quite nervous, as you can imagine. So if you do see me kind of wandering about in Sheffield tomorrow, please don't be afraid to come and say hello to me. I would really appreciate it. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do like the sound of Boulet, Dragula, please let me know, and please let me know if you go and watch it. Also, I don't know, if you could tell Shudder that I sent you there, that would be great. I would really love that, to be sponsored by Shudder. That'd be sick. But yeah, I'm gonna go and prepare mentally and physically. I'm very excited. I'm probably not going to be able to sleep tonight. I really hope you enjoyed spending time with me. I love spending time with you. If you want to join me on my Patreon, on my Instagram, on my other socials, on my shop as well, you are more than welcome to do that. I have got all my links in the description below. I hope you've had a good day. If not, that's okay. Always remember tomorrow's a new day. See you later, guys. Bye.